So, welcome everyone, and we have a few new people joining. So, welcome to Shikha, Pratima, and I think Purnima. Yes, welcome. So, this is our third session, and we have been reflecting upon words by Mother Sri Aurobindo on healing. And there is this little compilation which I shared with you, a PDF, also available as hard copy, where we can really take everything as a raw material for progress, especially talking about illnesses and things with the physical. So we'll just continue as the last time with the readings. And whenever anyone has reflections to share, please do not hesitate to unmute and share any resonances and reflections. So many a times I forget where we last stopped. So please correct me and we'll then just continue. So I think we had started with, yeah, this one. Any idea? Anyone? I've not been able to look it up. Taru, do you remember where or Yuan? Anyone? Rick?
From the old spirituality only we have to begin, I guess.
Oh, we have to begin from here. Okay, thanks, Pratima. Thank you. Okay, great. So would anyone like to unmute and read it out for all of us? Maybe, yeah, I think we can read until here, the highlighted parts. Anyone who feels like reading it out, one of us.
Monica, do we have to start from the struggle of forces? That is where we have to start from? Because we ended just before that, the first two paragraphs.
Okay, struggle of forces means this. Okay. Actually, we can have an overlap because we have seen in our sessions that even if we go overlap, another overlap, so it's always something new which comes up. So good to have a overlap. Yeah.
Certainly,
ठीक
certainly.
है, thank you. So let's start from here, the struggle of forces. If anyone would like to go ahead, please.
Okay, I can.
Yeah, please go ahead.
This struggle, this conflict between the constructive forces of the ascending evolution of a more and more perfect and divine realization, and the more and more destructive, powerfully destructive forces, forces that are mad beyond all control, is more and more obvious, marked, visible, and it is a kind of race or struggle to see which will reach the goal first. It would seem that all the adverse anti-divine forces, the forces of the vital world, have descended on the earth, are making use of it as their field of action, and that at the same time a new, higher, more powerful spiritual force has also descended on earth to bring it a new life. This makes the struggle more acute, more violent, more visible, but it seems also more definitive, and that is why we can hope to reach an early solution.
Thank you, Joan. So I think when we look at these words, one thing which in my practical experience comes to me, again, a very different small window, limited window, many windows through which we can look at it, is that if you see nowadays, last time we were discussing that every second person has some chronic illness, autoimmune disorders are on a rise. We are just uh, having an increase in even younger generations having autoimmune disorders where the body begins to destroy itself, and cases of depression, despair are very much on the rise. Like, you can't ignore it. People, especially who are working in these fields, doctors, psychologists, people like us in spirituality, we can't ignore that they are on the rise. And this is being said many years ago, and it's true even now. That's the beauty of these timeless words. So as if in eternity there is, this long moment which is going on, in which we are currently. And its mother says that it's good that it is intense, because then it means there is a definitive solution that we can reach. Because if it is very mild, like simmering, for example, I have a tooth pain and it's simmering, then I don't care to go to the doctor. I go to the doctor only when it's so intense that I can't tolerate it. Usually that's when we go to the doctor. So I think good for us, although it's not that mother says that you should not ask for suffering, but when it is there, you can make really a good use of it. So all these forces, the dark forces which overwhelm us, even emotional disturbances, the vital, mother says here, the forces of the vital world, the emotional upheavals that we go through, even now that we are going through, good that they are in their intensity, because now we can't ignore it. Now we can't ignore it. So and truth always wins. So if we take this as a raw material, that I am in trouble, I am in darkness, there is too much ugliness going on, good for me, because then only I will care to seek the light within. Otherwise, who cares? When things are hunky dory, somehow our nature is like that. We don't bother much. It's only when we are reaching our limits of suffering that we look out for help or seek some light. And then mother says that is why we can hope to reach an early solution. That is why mother talks of a new race, a new body, even a supramental manifestation, where things can all take a divine turn, because it's just too much. One can't bear it. Yeah, so please share any reflections. We'll take a pause here. I will take a pause here, and please share if anything is coming.
Well, it helps me to hear this, because throughout the course of the day and the week, I feel bombarded by the absurd things that seem to be happening in our culture globally. And it's very reassuring to hear that, yes, all the adverse forces are here. Yes, they're doing everything they can. And yes, the good guys are here also. And the fact that this is a significant moment, and the moment is years long, the moment is maybe even lifetimes long, but to hear that this is, I won't say part of the plan, but that this is understood, and that there's a major battle on, and that we're in it, that's awesome. So it's very encouraging to me to hear this. Very encouraging.
Absolutely, yes.
I wanted to just say something, Monica.
Yes, please, Priyanka.
So you said it's so right that in today's times, chronic illnesses, autoimmune, also everything like depression, so many mental health issues are going on increasing, and in every age group, starting from kids of any age group to adults of any age group. And it is it seems like an epidemic to me, that all of us have some sort of mental issue. But as you were talking about, a thought came to my mind that it seems like a tug of war, a strong pull in both directions. And if both the parties, if both the sides, the divine and the anti-divine forces, of course the divine is always more powerful, but in us we have to manifest it. So, but if these two forces are very strong, it is in a way so beautiful, because something is going to happen. Because if we just keep on holding the rope, both the sides, and do nothing, we'll reach nowhere. So if both the parties are pulling the rope, and as the mother has said it in the last few lines, this makes the struggle more acute, more violent, and this explains it. But why? Because all these things are so much increasing the positive way to look at it is that we all are also trying to find out our own true nature, or probably we will find out, because as you had said that, because when there is a diversity, it somewhere propels us to see beyond our physicality, to go deeper within. If everything is just, in a lukewarm state, then we are very complacent with whatever we are doing in life. Or so it's nice, in a way it's nice, because I was reading it again, the few paragraphs, when what we did last time today, and it made certain sense to me that all of us are going, mother says that we all are going through so much of stress and struggle, and it's going on increasing, and she just put such a beautiful perspective to it, that hey, hold on, that's what gives us the hope, that yes, it is going on, it will increase because we are evolving, but the matter is not is so it does not, it is not like rubber, it is not elastic, but it is so not it stops its own growth or whatever. So she said it so beautifully in these lines that it is I can't see it now, that we are all we are trying to break through resistance and emerge into new consciousness. So all this is happening, all these tension, stress is happening, but there's a positive perspective to it, that we are probably evolving or finding out our own way to evolve by connecting with our own nature. So that is very beautiful, I found. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And I think if we take it into our day-to-day life, this paragraph that we just read, if we shrink it in one moment of our daily life, so what about divine and anti-divine there? In one moment, when I am interacting at a workplace, in my home, interacting in my relationships, taking decisions in life, there this is happening. So how to talk about it there? Because that is my life, day-to-day moments is my life. So there, the more conscious we become, the more conscious I become of my patterns, that I have my tendencies that are ruling me. I have judgments that are ruling me, opinions about people that are ruling me. And the mother says that the more we become conscious of these movements in us, the more possibility we have to have this breathing space between my awareness and the thought movement, feeling movement, the pattern, so that I can now choose enough and I can step back from that pattern. And this is choosing divine over anti-divine. In simply said, in day-to-day life, becoming conscious of our tendencies which are not benefiting anyone, we are just running into them unconsciously, becoming aware of them, having known that we have suffered following their dictates enough, others have suffered following their dictates enough, so now time for me to step back. So always choosing whatever is beneficial for the other person, for myself, working from a good heart, illumined heart, the psychic being, and that is how we choose the side of divine over the anti-divine, which is these patterns and tendencies which have been ruling me in this lifetime and beyond this lifetime. This is my chance. And when we take even one step back from these tendencies, many masters say that we actually clear a lot of ancestral baggage, because there are many patterns, tendencies that have been running in families, patterns of ambition, jealousy, greed, all these patterns. So when we become conscious of them now, knowing that we have suffered so much following their dictates, then we actually cut the thread of this karma baggage that we were carrying on. So that is our possibility. I think this would be called the Aryan spirit in Sri Aurobindo's terms.
And if we could have this spirit, we could also, nowadays, one thing that has become so commonly talked about, that with every disease there's an association of a genetic association, like whether you say diabetes, whether you say hypertension, even let's say depression, that we doctors and everybody, they ask if you had a family history, and it's like putting a stamp that if you have a family history, this is bound to happen, and that takes away the power from you, the power to change, the very hope that it is not destined, or even if it was, it's not the end. You can change it and you have the power. And you said it in the first session that the moment you take control, that I created it, when I understand that whatever has happened in my life, I created it. I'm so powerful that I created it, be it a disease, though it is unconsciously created, but it is we. We have the power. We have the power to create it. We also have the power to undo it. And the first step is to realize it. And even if it has happened over ancestral, things happening, passing over. I have stopped talking about saying that hypertension, genetic disorder, even if it is, we can reverse this, and let's not make it a collective belief that hypertension, diabetes, thyroid, depression, or cancer, Abhi, you have had it, family history, then you will have it. No, you can change that pattern, and you so beautifully said it just now, Monica. So this thought just came to my mind as I was
Beautiful.
here.
Yeah, yeah, very powerful. And this, as you were sharing, that the moment we take onus, the power comes back to us, because the moment we give onus to its genes and I am a victim of the situation, the power goes away from us. So the moment we hold that responsibility back, that if I have created, I can also change the creation. So I think that's what is needed. Yeah. So thank you for sharing it. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else? Anyone at this? Okay, so we keep moving on. Old spirituality and the new. So anyone who feels ready could maybe read this first paragraph. Thank you.
There was a time, not so long ago, when the spiritual aspiration of man was turned toward a silent, inactive peace, detached from all worldly things, a flight from life, precisely to avoid battle, to rise above the struggle, escape all effort. It was a spiritual peace in which, along with the cessation of all tension, struggle, effort, there ceased also suffering in all its forms. And this was considered to be the true and only expression of a spiritual and divine life. It was considered to be the divine grace, the divine help, the divine intervention. And even now, in this age of anguish, tension, hypertension, this sovereign peace is the best received aid of all, the most welcome, the solace people ask and hope for. For many, it is still the true sign of a divine intervention, of divine grace.
Thank you. I think this is those of us who have been associated with Mother's Sri Aurobindo's yoga. Mother and Sri Aurobindo say that nirvana for one's own self is, in other yogas, it's considered as the last ultimate step. But in integral yoga, it's the first step, and then the battle starts. So that's really beautiful, because that gives us employment for not even this lifetime, but many, many lifetimes to come. So although having this peace in the being is a beautiful state that one craves for, because the mental chatter, the emotional chatter is so chaotic that all that one wants is to have some peace, whether you are having that peace in your quiet walk, or having silent time with yourself or reading a book, it doesn't matter, but we crave for that peace. And when this peace is experienced in the inner being, that is what is we consider as a true realization in many yogas. But with Mother's yoga, this is where it starts. And what does it mean? Because usually we are, we are battling with a very agitated mind. We are very restless. We have our manipulative rights and wrongs in the head, which we want to battle for, very selfish demands and agendas, which we may not admit. And the mind is very restless and agitated when we are battling in life. It may not appear as a battle, actually, it may just appear as an interaction, but we always are battling in some or the other sense. So, Mother says that in other yogas or the old spiritualities, it is like matter is chaos, living in world is chaotic. So why not go to a forest and cave and have your peace, while you can have. While on the same aspect, Kabir, for example, the Indian mystic, he has said that even if you go in the forest, it is the same mind that goes with you. So the battle is still on. It's don't think that you have left the battle, because the battle is here. It's not out there. And he used to almost make a satire or ridicule on people who would go out in the forest and do all kinds of rituals in old spirituality, and considering them as maybe ascetics and somebody higher than other people. He would make maybe a kind of a ridicule, because he would say that, but when you come back to the material world, nothing has changed. It's the same old mind that you bring to the material world also. So Mother and Sri Aurobindo show us that first we settle the mind, which is absolutely an important step in the yoga. But it is only one step. It is not the ultimate realization, having peace in the mind. And Sri Aurobindo himself says that there is nothing that can be achieved better with the, just let me read it before I distort with my own mind. He says, there is nothing mind can do that cannot be better done in mind's immobility and thought-free stillness. When the mind is still, then truth gets her chance to be heard in the purity of silence. So he's not saying that one should not have this intermediate peace that is there. All that I think they are pointing out is that don't settle there. That is not our settlement. It's just a passing phase, and there is much to be done after that settlement has been achieved. While those of us who have been on the path, we know that we have a monkey mind, and to achieve a settlement in the mind is a task of a lifetime or even lifetimes. We have to just keep at it. And yet, keeping at it, we have to do the battle also. Just like in Gita, there is the battle which is being fought in a yogic style. He's not saying that don't battle and just be peaceful and you don't need to take a stand. That's not the purpose. Because many a times we get this image that if I am following a path of peace or Buddhism or maybe Mother's yoga, no, not Mother's yoga, but many a times we get this impression that maybe I have to take a step back and avoid all the battle and be peaceful. While when there is more peace, then actually I can be in the battle, because I can take the right decisions even in the middle of chaos. So taking the right stand in the battle, I think that's what they are hinting us towards. So we have to work towards money, power, positions. Mother said that money and power are in wrong hands, because all the spiritual people say, no, I don't have to do anything with the money. So all the money goes to people who want to make corrupt use of the money. So Mother says money should be in the right hands, so that it can be made good use of. It can be used for good purposes. So not to shun away the material life. Yeah, I'll just put it on, and if there are any reflections. I think for those of us who do some silent meditations, or they spend some quiet retreat time with themselves, they would have a taste, because when we are in retreat, everything is so joyful, so peaceful many a times. But when we come back to our relations and workplace and all the challenges, we see that, oh my God, the same anger rises up again. The same greed, the same lust, the same ego clash amongst relations. So, what has changed? So, I think this is very important to see the face of it, that there is a gulf between knowing and living. That is to be bridged. Because if I stay in my own silent time, I would feel that I have overcome everything. There is no greed, no jealousy, no everything, anything. But when we begin interacting, we realize that everything is there. It was just lurking around the corner. And then we have the choice to become conscious of these disturbing states of being, because they are not true to our nature. That's why they are called disturbing. And not to own them, not to follow the dictates of them. Choose to ignore them and follow the good heart.
Yeah, very true.
Yes. Yeah. So anything here, or shall we move? Anyone? Okay. So the next one, anyone would like to read?
I can read. In fact, no matter what one wants to realize, one must begin by establishing this perfect and immutable peace. It is the basis from which one must work. But unless one is dreaming of an exclusive, personal, and egoistic liberation, one cannot stop there. There is another aspect of the divine grace, the aspect of progress, which will be victorious over all obstacles, the aspect which will propel humanity to a new realization, which will open the doors of a new world and make it possible not only for a chosen few to benefit by the divine realization, but for their influence, their example, their power to bring to the rest of the mankind new and better conditions.
Yeah, beautiful. Yes. So I think in the very first line, Mother says that, again, when I'm saying Mother, it could be Sri Aurobindo, so pardon me for that. They are the two who are one, so it's allowed. In fact, no matter what one wants to realize, one must begin by a step. So we can't ignore that the monkey mind has to be tamed. I think that is very important to realize. It's a continuous stabilization of the mind in a restful source. And the true nature of the mind, for those, for example, in Buddhism, it is said that the true nature of the mind is pristine awareness. In other words, this consciousness, which is present everywhere. It's in every speck of matter or non-matter. The consciousness is there. It may be asleep, but it is there. And that's why in Indian tradition, even a stone or a piece of rock is considered divine. We maybe we put a tika on it, or some flowers to it, and we can pray to it, because there is consciousness even there. So this we can't ignore that we have to work with our minds. That is the first step. And we will see, those of us who have been working, we will see that this is a never ending work, the work in progress all the time. Because the moment I slip to tame the mind actually has this tendency to go back in the habitual patterns, the old patterns. It goes back, instead of resting as awareness, It rests in the thought forest. And that is what begins to again arise confusion, doubt, misery. So this, no matter what wants to realize, one must begin by establishing this perfect and immutable peace, knowing that it is a long process. It is the basis from which one must work. And this can also be seen in another way, Shiva and Shakti, the play of Shiva and Shakti, Purusha and Prakriti. So the Purusha surrenders to Prakriti, that you go dominant. Prakriti is any movement basically, thought, feeling, body sensations, all the movements of nature is Prakriti. Movement is Prakriti, thought is Prakriti. And nature, Shiva, the Purusha, is this pristine witnessing awareness which goes in the background, which surrenders to the Prakriti, that for the purpose of the play, I choose a non-dominant role. So when we are looking at a theater, our focus is not on the screen. We are looking at the images, the moving images, which is Prakriti. While what makes the moving images possible is the screen. There is nothing without the screen. So that immutable peace of the awareness, which is ever present, but in the background, is the ground for this play, the Leela that is happening. And if we look at us individually, we have thought, feelings, sensations, and then we have this awareness which becomes aware of the thought, aware of a feeling, aware of a sensation, aware of my storyline, aware of my past, aware of future events. So Mother says, in one of the paragraphs, Mother says that know that consciousness as yourself, which has never changed. But thoughts have changed, feelings have changed, sensations have changed, storylines in the minds have changed. But that background awareness has never changed. It is always witnessing the whole drama. Know that as yourself. And not only Mother, many other masters have hinted at uniting with this awareness as your true self and disengaging from the surface, Prakriti, surface phenomena, thought, feeling, sensations. So this is the immutable peace which one has to take stance as. It is the basis from which one must work, but we can't stop there. But unless one is dreaming of an exclusive personal and egoistic liberation, so settling down in as the Sakshi, the witnessing awareness, unless one is dreaming of just personal liberation, one cannot stop there. There is another aspect of divine grace, the aspect of progress. So progress in our thoughts, progress in our feelings, and progress in our sense perceptions, way of thinking. So the moment we become aware of any thought which is negative in nature, we have the ability now, standing as awareness, we have the ability to transform it to something beautiful. That is progress. So the same raw material which is given to me, nothing changed. But now, just like we make compost out of all the vegetable peels and all that, so I am making something good, something beneficial out of those raw material of disturbing emotions. That is progress, that brings joy. So if I have an illness, I take illness as a sign. Something has to be learned, something has to be progressed within my being. And I don't stop at the illness or becoming just aware of the illness. No, that can be done, that will be done. But parallelly, I am also making progress, turning all my thoughts to the divine. Divine means purity, purifying basically. Turning all my feelings to the divine and living for the divine and not for the ego self. So that is our possibility. Progress is our possibility. And Mother says that progress brings joy. The joy that we are all looking for, that can be had, we can have it in day-to-day interactions. And when we choose this, in the last few lines, Mother says that not only are we benefited, each drop of existence around us is benefited. So I'm becoming one drop of poison less, and that the fragrance of that drop changed. It spills the fragrance out. I don't have to do it actively. The more I'm working on myself, I can't help but stop the blossoming, affect the background. It would just be a byproduct of it. So she shares that the divine realization, but for their influence, their example, their power to bring the rest of the mankind new and better conditions. That is a possibility. Yeah, anyone?
So while you were talking about the benefit of the mankind, how by just working on our own self first and beginning that transformative change within ourselves, how we can influence everything around us. I got just reminded of Lord Mahavir, and I've just read it somewhere, heard it, that when Lord Mahavir, he was that living consciousness like God. So when he used to walk through a certain road or somewhere, I don't remember how many kilometers of radius, but if there was a fight happening somewhere, between two individuals, and he was walking far, far away, and within that radius, everything would just harmonize. So that energy which he was carrying when he was walking through, everything would just settle. So everything would come in that energy field, and any disharmony, any conflict, any fight, anything going on would uh, just settle on its own. People, some sort of a realization would happen, and people would stop doing that. So that was, whenever I have read that or heard that, it has just stayed with me. And whenever a thought like this happened, it just comes to my mind, and I want to share it always, that how just by working on ourselves we can just bring that change first within our own family and then outside in the world. So the idea which Mother is saying, that it's not just to stop at one's own self, but yes, the work has to start from here, and then to take everybody along, holding hands, not physically holding hands, but otherwise also, it just will happen that you will, wherever you will go, you will be an energy field which will bring which will be so transformative for everything around. So
Yeah,
that's so
beautiful, beautiful. Yes, that's a beautiful example. I think one image that I shared once long time back, which resonates with what you were sharing, is that imagine that you go into a hall where maybe some performance is going to happen, people are settling down, taking their seats, and there is like chatter going on. There's talk going on, people are talking still with each other. Now, there can be a couple of monitors or supervisors there, maybe silencing them down with their sticks. That can be a possibility. But then imagine, it just came to me that imagine that there is, just like the being of Mahavir that you mentioned, a person like Mahavir, he enters the hall and he's carrying so much strength of peace. Mother says peace is a power with himself, that the moment he enters the hall, everybody, because of his presence, just settles down. There is no need of sticks or supervisors running around.
yeah.
So yes, absolutely, yes, that's the power of peace. Yeah. And there is this technique of Tonglen in Buddhist tradition, which I had shared in earlier sessions also, which I find very helpful and purificatory. So what it does is that, imagine that I'm suffering. I'm suffering, maybe I have an interaction with person, some guilt is arising, shame, I felt rejection, insult. So some turmoil is going on. Now, the moment I become conscious of this turmoil, what I can say is that, oh, now I know how people suffer when they feel insult, rejection, or whatever one is going through. Now I know their suffering. So what we do is, in Tonglen, we connect with all the people through our pain. We connect with the pain of all those who are suffering in the same state. And with the in-breath, we take in their suffering. And with the out breath, we say that may they have the simplicity and joy of the present moment. So I find it very, very powerful, and it purifies, whatever ill will, resistance of the ego there is. At any point of time, whenever I become conscious of any suffering, or maybe other person who may be suffering in depression, despair, so what you do is you inhale their suffering, you take in their suffering, And with the exhaling breath, you send them that may they have the peace and joy of the present moment, may they have progress in life, may they walk towards light. So then you are stepping aside of the ego, because ego won't be able to do this. But even irrespective of the resistance from the ego, if you allow yourself to inhale that suffering, it purifies the resistance of the ego. Yeah. So anything here, anyone? Okay, so going ahead, maybe we take this and then we can maybe reflect and taking the time in consideration. Let's see. So yoga in the modern world. Anyone would like to read? Shweta, Shikha, those who have Claudia, please go
Yes,
ahead.
I can read. Sri Aurobindo. The world today presents the aspects of a huge cauldron of Medea, in which all things are being cast, shredded into pieces, experimented on, combined and recombined, either to perish and provide the scattered material of new forms, or to emerge rejuvenated and changed for a fresh term of existence. Indian yoga, in its essence, a special action or formulation of certain great powers of nature. Itself specialized, divided, and variously formulated, is potentially one of these dynamic elements of the future life of humanity. The child of immemorial ages, preserved by its vitality and truth into our modern times. It is now emerging from the secret schools and ascetic retreats in which it had taken refuge and is seeking its place in the future zoom of living human powers and utilities. But it has first to rediscover itself, bring to the surface the foundest reason of its being in that general truth and that unceasing aim of nature with which it represents, and find by virtue of this new self-knowledge and self-appreciation its own recovered and larger synthesis.
Yeah, thank you. I think this can be seen not even in spiritual areas, but also in terms of how in contemporary times we are able to mix two rigid streams and have a combination of these two rigid streams. So we are becoming more flexible, and even not even here, even in gender, in terms of gender. So earlier, like it's only male or female, but now we know that there is more than male and female. There are transgenders which are being accepted, and lesbian, gays, everything is possible. So, and Mother, I think in one of the talks by Dr. Alok Pandey, he was also sharing that this almost is a movement forward towards soul has no gender. So it may appear very weird, but it's actually a movement towards this development of a new race, that actually the soul, the psychic being, has no gender. So male, female, transgender, whatever we are divine beings. So, and we see this not, again, as I said, that not only in spirituality, where two different rigid streams of yoga are now merging and something new is arising. As Sri Aurobindo says, that in this cauldron of media in which all things are being cast, shredded into pieces, experimented on. In science, we see that neuroscience, for example, is becoming so open now to studies in consciousness, where they subject, for example, people who have been meditating for long and non-meditators and doing research on them. Consciousness is now a term which is very well accepted and worked upon in science, which was not the case earlier, even in objective science. So many things are changing. Things are losing their rigid boundaries, which is good. He says that Indian yoga, in its essence, a special action or formulation of certain great powers of nature, itself specialized, divided into variously formulated, is potentially one of these dynamic elements of the future life of humanity. So this is one of those key ingredients of future humanity. The child of immemorial ages, preserved by its vitality and truth into our modern times. So good that these special streams are preserved in our modern times. It is now emerging from secret schools. One of the examples that comes to me here is also, Tibetan Buddhism, when we look at it, or Buddhist traditions. Now we see that there are many, many good teachers who are coming out, they're not staying in retreat for their own self, they're talking to us, urbanized people, and resolving their issues, day-to-day things, using practical Buddhism. So you don't have to be a monk or a nun in order to practice Buddhism. You can live here in material life, do your corporate job or whatever you are doing, and be a Buddhist. And that could not be thought of in earlier times. So they are coming now, emerging from secret schools and ascetic retreats in which it had taken refuge, and is seeking its place in the future sum of living human powers and utilities. So that wisdom, that intelligence that is coming from people who have done their sadhana and tapasya, that is helping us now in contemporary world. We are not abandoned. We can integrate it and make use of it. But it has...
I have...
Yes, please. Yeah, Claudia.
I'm sorry. No. I just don't understand when you say we are coming to an age where the boundaries are not anymore there. Yes, that we are just, everybody is like so open, so free. And for me, it's not like this. I mean, it should not be like this, because we are living in a body, physical body. Yes, and yes, the soul is free and have to be free. But for one reason, we are living in this physical world, material world, that have really rigid structures. And we cannot jump that laws of nature. I mean, it's like almost trying to be like something that we are not. I mean, yes, because the nature of this body constitution is material and cannot be changed. Yes, like you say, yes, the guys that get operated and become woman, or the woman that become man, is not, for me, is not normal. I mean, I never will be like happy with that. Yes, I mean, sorry if someone get upset with because of that, but it's something that maybe my soul is very happy because knows that his soul doesn't have any gender, yes, but his body or her body have gender, and it's a play that have to, I mean, for this reason came to this earth to play that, yes. So for me, it's very confused. I mean, I really cannot understand that, because for me, it's like, if I born in a woman's body, I have to learn something from that woman's body. Yes. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm sure everybody understands the confusion that is there. But then parallelly, I think it's very hard to put words to it. And, you would resonate with this because as long as I am not in that position, I am. So, for example, you may feel male, you may feel female. That's okay because that's socially acceptable. But now, when this new thing is coming that I don't feel female while I am in a female body, now it's very hard to understand what that person is going through. Very, very hard. We can't actually know this if we are not in that position. We can't understand their dilemma. So I totally understand your confusion that you say that I can't understand this. How can this happen? Because we are not, or at least you saying, I'm not in their shoes. I don't know how can this happen. But as mother says that everything, we in Indian tradition we say nothing moves without his will. So something is there which is transforming even through this transformation that we are talking about. We don't know. Again, I don't claim to know anything about it, but I have faith in mother's will, divine will, that if it is there for a reason. We don't know the reason, but it's there for a reason. Now, what's the reason? Of course, I don't know. Many times it has happened that one day I'm maybe reflecting upon maybe somebody very greedy. I am thinking about the mind judges, the conceptual mind judges, and it says that how can somebody be that greedy? I don't understand it. And with mother's grace, what happens? After 2 days, you fall into greed. Now you realize how it is to be a greedy person. Has it happened with you? I have experienced that many, many times. So what happens with me is now I understand the pain that greedy person goes through, and that pain of judgment also, because when I am going through greed, by God, it's a trouble, it's a suffering when one goes through greed. Now I know what suffering it is. So just like that, when a person is feeling whatever, lesbian, gay, transgender, or any which is not socially acceptable, maybe, or in older tradition, I don't know what is going on. So all that I can have is just maybe compassion and kindness, because we don't know the larger picture. There is a purpose to everything. Who am I to judge? Because very soon I can be given a taste. Look, this is how you feel. And I think that would be good to be in their shoes, because that is only when I grow in compassion and oneness. Otherwise, I don't realize what that person is going through. So I think that is what I can, again, coming from my little window, there must be many, many windows to it, I'm sure. So we don't know the larger game. That's what we can say. And whether outwardly I am anything, inwardly we are all divine beings, and we have to honor that, but we have to respect that. Yeah.
Monica, I wanted to know if there's any book or anywhere where Shima or Sri Aurobindo has mentioned about gender, sexuality. Because nowadays a lot is happening in the younger generation, and a lot which is also there in the social media and the movies, and somewhere there's a positive aspect to it of acceptability, but it is also somewhere you also feeling that is it also promoting or creating confusion? I don't know. I mean, there's been a lack of understanding in me too, and I would like to understand. I would like to read. I would like to get more clarity so that I can be not so judgmental, to be truly accepting, because just by saying that let me not be judgmental, it doesn't help. Because when it in a practical situation, when it comes to your mind is so accustomed to judge, you cannot but judge, the how because I don't understand, because I have my limited sense of understanding of things around me, my conditioned my mind is so conditioned by my upbringing, by my own culture, or whatever you can say, and my upbringing and all, whatever. But now when I see things changing around me, though I want to accept it, though I want to understand it, I find it hard because then I want to read uh, and I want to read more of what Shima or Sri Aurobindo would have said rather than reading it from anywhere else, like what everybody is talking about, because I want to understand the deeper essence of it. That what is it that when even in spirituality, as you've said, that there is say that all of us are Ardhanarishwar. Lord Shiva is Ardhanarishwar. Ardhanarishwar means all of us are bisexual in that sense, half male, half female. So when we say that, we mean we don't say in terms of gender, I think we say in terms of energy. That when we say male and female energies, it is not the sex, that male and female sex, but we talk about the energies, that certain sort of characteristic features in us are classified as masculine, and certain set of characteristic features in us are classified as being feminine. Like, for example, the creative instincts, not that men cannot be, masculinity cannot be creativity, but that in the energy sense, masculinity is all about, action oriented, whatever we do, more action oriented, more logical, and all creativity, music, art, poetry, all that is what feminine energy is considered in us. So all of us have that aspect, irrespective of whether we are male or female. We have that masculine and feminine energy, and both these energies need to be in a balance, and it is only then we as individuals are in balance. So understand it from that aspect. I feel that if I have a female body, and if my masculine energy, like they say that in spiritual sciences, in our it has been talked about Ira and Pingala Nari, that and there is that Sushumna, the central channel, that all of us talked about, the Kundalini yoga and all that. And these are the terminologies we have heard. We know little bit about it. Not that I know much about it, but little bit that I have read, also practiced, and little bit I have experienced, not much. It's a vast field. So, like if I am a female, but if my Pingala or the masculine bit of me is more pronounced than my feminine energy, that maybe I'll be more action oriented, more, go getter and all that. Or maybe if my feminine is more, maybe I'll be mentally still be active, but I might be not active, seemingly active to others, but maybe I'll be more creative, maybe music, poetry. All of us have these. All of us, irrespective of whether we are male or female, we have both the energy. So sometimes I often think that has Sri Aurobindo or Shima, has they ever mentioned about these energies and saying that being in a male body, but having a masculine energy, maybe your Ira Nari more predominantly functioning in you. So maybe you're identifying it. I don't know. I really don't know. But if you find any reference or if you find anything, do let us know so that we can read and maybe understand a little bit better. So has he ever talked about these things? Have you come across?
I think directly, maybe so far I've not come across, but I think I'm sure, yeah, Rick also says not come across. But if we dig, maybe we get hints or clues. I don't know, because maybe I've not digged enough. Dug enough, right? Dug. My English is not.
We have understood.
Anyway,
Dug
so
enough.
Yeah, dog enough. So I think we'll keep a watch on it. It would be nice to read directly their words, but I feel in my personal journey, because from time to time, whenever my attention goes on outward matters, I get strayed. That's what I feel. Again, just kind of giving it another perspective. So we will read what Mother and Sri Aurobindo have to say about this, if they have said. But I feel that is my task of stabilizing as awareness over? Have I realized my psychic being? No. So why to focus so much on outward events? Why not work on making this inner reality more concrete, more stable, so that with the inner wisdom, with the inner intelligence, we get all these answers? intuitively, as Sri Aurobindo says. So that always comes to me whenever these questions we come across. Since you talked about this, I wonder about myself that is my task over? No, it's not over. But that's my first purpose of being a human being. So, get back to my work, and parallelly, as you said, we will reflect on what is being said by masters about these things, because they do trouble us. And especially, as you said, that especially because of our conditioning, they trouble us, especially because of that. Because we may look at other cultures. For example, in Indian culture, it's not very common to have multiple partners, a very regular thing. It's very nowadays it's becoming maybe more common. Usually it was not that common. So one would look with a judgment eye, that look, that person maybe is a hypocrite or having multiple affairs. But if you go with the same in different cultures, you see that it's very normal to them having multiple partners. In one relationship ends, then the other one, then the other one, and that's okay. They are going on as an individual. So now, what is right, what is wrong? Because if in that culture you go, you live up, that appears okay. If in Indian culture I live up, I grow, I get conditioned in a different way. So who can I judge? So there, I think the aspiration that we can have parallelly along with these doubts, confusion, that mother, whenever these doubts arise, mother, I don't know, and I do feel judgmental. So show me the light. One day, please bring me to this light about this confusion, that what is really happening here, because I don't know what is happening. So I think if we can keep this flame of inner aspiration alive to know the truth behind this confusion, that almost guides us towards more and more clarity in whatever aspect I may be wanting clarity. And it's definitely confusing, especially for teenage young people nowadays. And I also feel that aspect of education is very important here, because the education kind of education. Sorry, please go ahead. Yeah, Priyanka.
And when they ask questions, you feel so unequipped to answer. So because what something that your mind can't comprehend, how do you answer that? But it is a living reality. It has always been there from time immemorial. It's nothing new. But it seems now it's come up on the surface. It's more because the acceptance is there, because we are talking more about it. Is it that it is coming up on the surface, or is it is becoming, is it just that it is becoming more obvious, or is it just that because it is coming on the surface, it's also influencing? Is it also influencing? Because US has just passed a law. I was just reading somewhere, somebody was talking about recently. In one of its states, a law has been passed that in schools, nobody will even talk about gay. That word will not be used. And it's somewhere when something like this happens, it all starts from there. The influences, especially in our Indian system, in the teenager, I think it's been there all the time, that we get so influenced by the West. And so now this sudden thing that not being talked about it, is that going to help? Is that going to bring about an inner change, or is it only going to suppress? By suppressing, you're not going to change anything. So should we not address it? Should we not understand it? None of us truly understand it. Only as you said, that if I have a greed, then I understand what greed is. If I have a pain, I understand what pain is and what suffering it brings with itself. I can never understand. So how is it that we can still help people who are asking questions, who want help, who want to understand, because they are somewhere finding an identity. They are confused within themselves, that who are they? If at all, they're born in a male body or in a female body and able to sexual identity is with something else, then how? Who are they? And if they're asking questions, we should be equipped. We as adults, parents, teachers, doctors, friends, we should be equipped to at least provide some input, some insight and help, so
Yeah. I think, do you see
good we have
this?
a platform that we can discuss
Yeah,
about this.
absolutely, absolutely. No, I feel that this is really, since you talked of identity, who am I? Male, female, where, in the middle, who am I? So I think it is actually propelling. I again, just my personal reflection with disclaimer. I feel that isn't this propelling me to find my true individuality, true identity, which Mother says is the psychic being?
Yes,
Because,
I was thinking about that.
hmm,
But it doesn't help when you tell a child that you are not this body, you are not this mind, you're not even this thought.
hmm,
Everything will change. Haven't you seen that you've changed from your childhood? And haven't you seen people changing, even your thoughts? And this is all the time I'm talking, that I'm saying that whatever you're thinking today is going to change in the
hmm,
times to come. And what you thought in the yesteryears has changed now, hasn't it? But at
absolutely.
that particular moment, howsoever you say that I am not supposed to identify with this body, this mind, which is always changing, my emotions,
Hmm,
even my intellect,
hmm,
I'm not supposed to, but I'm so strongly attached to
hmm,
my ego. I'm so
absolutely.
strongly conditioned, howsoever I might be on the spiritual path.
Hmm,
And maybe that is transformative in its own way and it is taking its time. But yes, it is not like you're being in the spiritual path, nothing is happening. Even when we are reading and talking about it, something within us is absorbing it. The
hmm,
cells, they have a mind, each of this,
hmm,
how many trillions of cells in our body. Each one of them is hearing this. It is not just the brain, but it is every cell in the body and imbibing and absorbing and storing it as a memory. And and that is how it is conditioning us to see this world, to understand it and to react to it. But still, when the question comes like that, it is hard to just say to anybody that you are soul,
No, I
you
think
are
it is not to be
born.
said. It is not to be said
Yeah,
because it would
yeah.
appear very
It has to be.
hypocritical because I don't even know what a soul is. So, how
Yeah,
to say?
exactly. True. I don't even know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I think this, for me, this brings me forward the opportunity that, yes, I don't know, accepting that I don't know what is happening, being
Yeah.
confused, and yet parallelly having the realization that irrespective of the outer confusion, we all have the ability to cultivate. In Buddhism, we talk about these paramitas, 6 paramitas, like kindness, compassion, love. I think that is beyond genders. So, parallelly, as I am being confused, accepted, we don't know the larger picture, accepted, I don't know who am I, male, female, in the middle, no idea. But we do have parallelly for the practice uh, to cultivate kindness in us, good heart in us, compassion in us, and love in us. I think that is not spiritual theory. That is something which can be cultivated in daily actions, because my questions for the time being can take a side, like, okay, I'm keeping my unresolved questions in my pocket. Okay, I don't know who am I. Maybe in time I will know, but in time that is passing, because time is passing, the limited time passes, can I just focus on the cultivation of something which really benefits me, makes me fulfilled, and also fulfills the people around me, as my answers remain unresolved? I think this is also an art, to stay in time, in aspiration with the unresolved questions, because the mind becomes very agitated at times. The vital becomes very agitated, that where is the answer, where is the answer? There is no answers. So stay with the unresolved question. And masters say that the more you, if you have a intense question, you deep down, you bring it the question, you immerse the question in your heart and wait for the answer to come. But we don't have that patience usually.
Yeah.
In one day I say the answer has not come. But we can really learn from tribal communities, red Indians or Americans, there, that if they have sent out a question in the universe, oh my god, they have so much of patience. They know if the answer is supposed to come, it will come. They don't know how, If it is not supposed to come, maybe they don't need it for their growth. How amazing is that faith? So I think let us, yeah, with that unresolved thing, that so many questions have come up, which is beautiful, and with these questions can be put as a raw material, like a all life is yoga, so like ahuti, we can put these questions in the fire for waiting for the divine mother to show us, and each one of us will be showed in very, shown in very different ways. Whatever questions we have, each one would have a very different way to reach to the light that we are seeking. Because our questions on surface may appear similar, but we all are seeking very specific things to resolve. So we'll be led in very specific ways if we keep this aspiration alive, that I don't know and I would like to know. May I be shown the light. Yeah. But I think even this state of unknowing feels very grounding to me, because when I'm now interacting with a person who may be, I don't know where he is, the moment judgment comes, because I can tell myself, oh, I don't know. So the judgment can be kept at bay because you don't know, you are waiting for an answer. So I think even this unresolved questioning phase can give us a lot of grounding when we say that I don't know. I would like to know. So that keeps our arrogance at bay. And as we were talking, that our conditionings and judgments, they're at bay, they're a corner. They're there, but we are not completely grasping onto them. We are ready to receive more. Yeah.
I like what you say, to look these problems with the virtues, yes? Compassion, maybe patience. I mean, that changed many things, yes? Because if we approach all this with anger or with jealousy, I mean, we will kill each other or we will destroy each other, yes? So it's very, very nice to place the virtues in front, yes, like our shield to all this. I like it. Yes, thank you.
One of my very good friends, she female, for the most of her life, being in like relationships with male partners, very beautiful friend. And then she fell in love with a female after her marriage. Now it was just a happening, and how she took it in a way, she now realizes that, now I understand that, I have more compassion for people. For example, we were talking of lesbians or gays, whenever she meets some of these people, she says, oh, now I know you, I have been there. So the judgment falls away. And then we begin to see us as beings rather than these genders. So I think this also gives us possibility to break that shell of matter, us keep it aside and look at each one of us as beings. For example, if I have committed a crime, I have maybe I have, maybe murdered someone in my rage. The things can happen. Now, when I'm next, if I'm really evolving and progressing with my journey, even after doing something which may appear very criminal and sinful, now when I'm relating with in prison with another person who may have committed a crime in rage, I have, instead of anger, compassion for him. I don't have judgment for him, because I see that I have changed, I have murdered, and I have grown through it. You can also do that. Because as in Savitri, Sri Aurobindo says, our treasure within, the divine presence within, it is always kept safe, no matter how many sins we may have committed. Angulimal, the famous example, many sins committed, looks at Buddha and becomes his disciple and changes into a different being. So all the sins are now gone, past, like they are erased. All the karma can be now negated. So I think this is our possibility, that the more I fall into these places, which is, I feel personally, as a human being, good for me. Good for me to feel jealousy, good for me to feel lesbian. Because then only I know compassion, I have compassion that it doesn't matter. You are a human being, I am a human being. We can all grow and progress. So I feel that we need to touch those of us who think that if they are male, they are totally males, or if they are females, they are totally males. Although there is an inner aspect of masculinity, and as you were sharing, Priyanka, but outwardly, it's good to fall in delusion, space of delusion, because then only I have compassion for people falling in delusion. I have been through depression, I have risen through it. Now, when I interact with a person in depression, I know his potential. I would not give up on him easily. So I feel something softens in us when we touch these spaces of, maybe gray areas as per society's conditioning. But requires a lot of courage. Yeah. But we have the courage, we have that courage within, the divine strength. So, all of us Aryans, where are we? Shall we end it here? I think it's over time. I think enough very great, intense views, and something for us, all of us, to kind of deeply immerse in, give ourselves, maybe in depths of our being, we can immerse these questions, and in our perseverance, wait for the answers to arise. Yeah, in our own ways. So thank you everyone for joining. Thank you. Bye bye, Claudia. Thank you, Priyanka. Thank you, Rick, Shikha, Shweta. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica.
Bye bye. Have a good day.
Right.
Bye.
Thank you so much.